Hey, what's going on, guys? So we're back with another Discord JS video. Um, a lot of you guys actually were asking for a role reaction bot, and I figured, you know what, so let's get that Discord bot rolling out because it's version 12, and the last time I did a role reaction bot, we were using the beta version of version 12. It was still in development, and now that it's been officially released, we should definitely do a new tutorial with the actual official version 12. Okay, one thing that I want to mention is that you might hear like some background noise. That's my fan. I don't think you guys will hear it too much though, but yeah, it's pretty hot in my room, so you might hear my fan, but hopefully that doesn't ruin the quality of the video for you guys. But anyways, so what I want to do is actually I have never done this before. I'm going to take a different approach when it comes to making this role reaction bot. And because if you actually look at my previous tutorials, the role reaction bot actually, it's not a dynamic bot. Okay, so right now, what do I mean by dynamic? Okay, basically what I mean by that is you can add as many roles as you want to a certain message that people can react to with the emoji, and it'll just like work. And all of that stuff requires a database. Okay, in my previous tutorials, I never used any database before, but in this tutorial, we're going to be using a database to save all of our data. So right now I'm using a bot called Zero, and the Zero has a lot of features, but the only reason why I'm using Zero is for the role reactions. So that's what, that's what's powering all this stuff over here. And pretty much the way it works is you have a couple commands that you can use. The general idea is you type out your message, and then you tell Zero, hey, you can select this message by its ID, and then we're going to ask you which roles do you want to correspond. Which emojis do you want users to react with? That'll assign them whichever role. Okay, and then you write it out, and if they so for example, I can type out, hey, listen, I want my closure emoji to correspond with the closure role. Same thing with Node.js, Python, and etc. Okay, and all that data is going to be saved inside a database, and in version 12, handling data that isn't in the cache is a lot different because we have partials, so it's gonna be a lot easier. Okay, so honestly, I really don't have any idea of how I'm gonna start this, but all I do know is that we're going to need to set up a couple of commands. So I don't know how long this video is gonna be, but it's gonna be worth it. Okay, so I already have my current bot set up already, but I think the best thing to do is we're gonna create a new command. We're gonna call this I'm actually gonna label it role reactions, and these commands are just gonna be for setting up. So let's say, for example, we're gonna do something like create reaction message.js. Okay, and now we're gonna have to give our module.exports. And this is just going to be the run function, which takes in, whoops, this should be an arrow function. And this is going to take in a couple parameters. And aliases, we probably don't need any. Description, we're going to say creates a, or I shouldn't say create, I should really say enables a message to listen to reactions to give roles. Not really the best description, but it'll do for now. Okay, alright, so obviously the command name is it's not that great, but of course you can always change it whatever you want. Okay, awesome. Now let's go ahead and do this. So what I want to do is I want the user to issue this command, and when they do, I want to well, actually, there's a couple things that we could do, right? I think the easiest thing that I want to do actually is let me actually go on my test server. So what I'll do is let me create this channel. Let's create a channel called role menu, if I can spell. Can't spell. Okay, so let's create this channel called role menu, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this. Do I have any? I do have emojis, so I'm going to do something like this. Let's say Snapchat. That did not work. What is emoji? Is Snapchat 1. Why is it Snapchat 1? Makes no sense. Okay, that should be lowercase too. and this should be lowercase as well. Likewise. Okay, we'll just leave it alone for now. Okay, so hopefully this should work. It should really show the. I don't know why it's not doing that, or maybe you can't. Question mark. Okay, yeah, it seems like you can't. Okay, yeah, that's. I remember now. Okay, so let's do this. How did I want to kind of copy the same structure here? So it's emoji first, and then the name. So let's go ahead and say, hey, look, emoji, and then we're gonna say Snapchat. If you want the Facebook role, react with Facebook emoji, YouTube, and of course, you guys can just upload your own emojis. It's not that really. It's not that difficult. All you gotta do. What the hell? No way. Please tell me that's not real. If that is the case, then I'm actually concerned because how did I do with this? I hope. Oh, okay, never mind. I was freaking out for a little bit. Okay, so yes, so let me show you guys real quick how you guys can upload your emojis. So you want to make sure you go to server settings, go to emoji, and just upload any image file. It has to be under 256 kilobytes, so you can honestly use whatever image you want for your emojis. Obviously, you can even go on you can just Google Discord emojis as well. It's up to you. Be creative. Think about whatever you want. Okay. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna fix this real quick because I didn't realize that the emoji names can't be inside there. So, whoops! Why do I keep doing that? Anyways, so let's just fix this real quick. I gotta use the backtick symbol for everything, which kind of sucks, but it's okay. Alright, so we're almost done. Okay, so let's just stick with 4 roles for now. Okay, so let's say I created this message, and it's very simple, right? It tells people, okay, look, react with this message. I'm sorry, react with this emoji to get the Snapchat role. Likewise, react with this emoji, Facebook, to get the Facebook role, and etc. Right? It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so the way Zero works is you can create your own message, and you can enable a command to have the bot search for the message, and if it exists, it's going to add all those emojis to them. It's going to react to the message with all those emojis, because that's how it works. I mean, it would be better off if I could show you guys, but honestly, I forgot the commands for Zero, so I'm going to have to do this from scratch. So trust me, guys, I know what I'm talking about. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create the message, okay, and we're going to right click the ID. And this is, so we're gonna do something like this: create, or let's do add initial reaction. So let's actually change this. Let's actually give the command. I don't like this name of the command because it's so much typing, but we're gonna do this. Add initial reactions is gonna be the name of our command instead. So we're gonna change it to this, okay, and we're gonna have to parse the ID. We're gonna have to get the ID of the message. Okay, so it's gonna do something like this. It's going to find this message. It's gonna react to everything. It's gonna react to this message with all the emojis that we need to. Okay, well actually, no, that's a little bit different. Okay, so I remember now. With ZeroBot, what you do is you issue the command, and then it's going to ask you which emojis do you want to correspond with whichever roles. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to need to use, I guess, a message collector, because we're going to need to get the user to enter in input. Okay, and we're gonna get to that in the next step. So first, let's implement this part first. So we're going to say, okay, look, invoke this command, add initial reactions. Okay, and we pass in the message ID. We're gonna look to see if this message exists. Okay. So to do that, first let's get the actual argument, which is the ID. So let me actually set up, start my bot. Okay, so our bot should be loading soon, and you can see that with the previous tutorial that I made, all of our commands are loaded successfully. Okay, so let's issue this command. Okay. And now you can see then the console we have our ID, because we already have it parsed from the from this message event over here. Okay, great. So we have the ID. Now what I want to do here is I only want to let's do this. I only want them to pass in one argument. So what I'll do is I'll say let's message args equal args dot split Or actually, yeah, let's leave like that. Okay, and we're gonna do, or actually no, let's do this. If args.split, we're gonna split it by a regular expression instead of a space. So I think split should by default take in a regular expression, so we can do slash s plus. Okay, so this is a regular expression. Basically, this allows us to check to see if we're gonna split the entire message by as many spaces as we can, and if this array, right, because split returns an array, if the length of, why is this not saying? It should say. I don't know why it's not saying dot length, because it's an array, but okay, we'll leave it like that. Okay, so if the length of this is greater than 1, or not equal to 1, okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to return, we're going to say too many arguments, return. And hopefully I don't have a syntax error, because I'm kind of like I'm so reliant on the IntelliSense that's kind of throwing me a bit off. Let's try this again. And let's just do this. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. And obviously if I were to just pass this in, it's not going to say that. Okay, great. Cool. Alright. So we're just going to return. And that's it. Well, actually, we should send a message. We should say okay, that's a good error message. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so great. If this is the case, then we're going to send this message. Later on, we'll probably play around with some embeds to make it look much nicer. Now, else, this comes the fun part. So what we need to do is we need to actually check to see if that message exists, okay? Now, here's the thing. This message is not going to be in the cache if the bot restarts. So what we need to do is we need to fetch this message. Okay, so the way to do that is we can actually use the client class, or actually, well, actually, no, we don't actually have the message object. Because what I was thinking was we can use partials, but we're not going to be using partials just yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to reference the client class, and actually wait. Okay, well, one thing that we need to make sure is that the message itself is in the same channel. So we're going to have a couple of assumptions. So when I actually release this bot, like once I'm done with this whole implementation, I'm going to provide some instructions on how to actually set this up. But usually there are like certain instructions that you have to follow, such as making sure that the command is issued in the same channel as the message that you want to add the reactions to. Okay, so that's one assumption that we'll note down for later. But okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say message dot channel, and we're going to have to fetch the message. But remember, in Discord version 12, it's a little bit different. I think this fetch only works with I could be wrong. Okay, so message dot channel, text channel, fetch. No, that fetches the channel. Okay, there we go. Messages. Okay, there we go. They use the message manager now. Okay, so before, in version 11.5.1, the channel class actually had a method called fetch message. Now it's a lot different. So now, in order to fetch messages, we have to reference the messages property. So we're going to say message.channel.messages, and this is a message manager. Okay, and every one of these methods hits the API, so you can delete the message, you can fetch it, you can fetch the pin messages, whatever. Okay, so we're going to fetch the message by ID, because we only need one message, and I think this actually returns, what does this return? It returns either a collection or a message. So obviously, if you just fetch one message, then it's going to give you just that one message. If you fetch like, you know, if you just pass in like a channel log queries option, and if you pass in a limit of 10, it's going to give you 10 messages. We only need one. So what we're going to do is we're going to fetch, and we're going to pass in args. That's the ID of the message that we're trying to fetch. And since we are inside an asynchronous function, we're going to use async await syntax. So we're going to say let fetched message equal await message.channel.messages.fetch, because the fetch method returns a promise. Okay, and the promises we have to always handle them either using async await syntax, or we can use .then and .catch. Okay, since we're using async await, we want to make sure we are wrapping our code inside a try catch block, because errors can happen, right? For example, you might fetch a message that's unknown and it's going to throw an error, so you always want to make sure that you're handling your errors accordingly. Okay, so over here, if the message ID is actually exist in the channel, like if the message can be found in the channel, then it's going to return that message. So we're going to say if fetched message, then we're going to go ahead and just do something simple. We're going to say console log message was found. We're not going to do anything crazy yet. Now, if the message was not found, you're going to see the error. So I want to show you guys every little thing that happens. So we're going to pass in an invalid ID. Okay, well, first let's pass in the correct ID. So let me just delete these two things real quick. Okay, our bot has logged in. Good. Message was found, right? This message was found, and we're basically hitting the raw API, the actual Discord API. Now let me actually delete this. Let's type that in. Notice how an error was thrown. It says Discord API error unknown message. Okay, because we passed in an invalid message ID. Alright, so if that happens, we're just going to go ahead and just say message.channel.send message was not found. But of course, for every single message, like error message that we send, we want to delete it because obviously it's going to get spammy. So what I'm going to do over here is, let me actually, so if you don't know, the .send method also returns a promise, and since I want to save I want to save a couple lines of code. So what I'm going to do actually is, you know what, I'll use async await as well. Okay, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to use .then.catch to save some lines of code, but we'll just use a curly brace because why not? Of course, the nice thing about understanding a lot of concepts in JavaScript is you can always think about so many different ways to do just one thing. Like it's crazy. So let's just say message equals this, and what I want to do is I want to await this .send method because it returns a promise, because this thing happens asynchronously, so we need to make sure we're awaiting the promise. So we're waiting for this whole function to resolve or reject. Okay, and again, because an error might be thrown, I'm actually just going to take this try and move that out here, so that way we don't have to have so many try catch. Okay, but the downside of this is actually we're gonna end up throwing an error down here. Well, actually, no, that should be fine. That should be fine. Nah, I think we should be fine. Okay, let's just stick with that. So try catch. I'm always overthinking so much. Okay, so if this is the case, too many arguments must only provide one message ID. So we're gonna go ahead and say message.delete, and we're gonna go ahead and do 25. Actually, no, this is different. Actually, so if you want to delete messages, okay, it's the same thing. Okay, I thought it was a little bit different. Okay, and you can pass in a number, which is how long to wait before the message is deleted. I think 5 seconds should be enough. Okay, and I'm actually going to go ahead and just call catch on here, because I don't want this I don't want the error thrown in here to affect this down here. But obviously this is kind of a little bit weird now, so just leave it at that. Or actually, you know what, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm changing so many things. Let's just do this. Let's do this. Let's move this try catch back in here, and let's just have this catch be here, because we're never going to touch this if case ever again. So I'm just going to handle the error in case if, let's say for example, if we don't have permissions or if the message is undefined, then, I mean, that's not going to be the case, but, you know, if let's say we don't have permissions, then we're going to catch the error here instead of throwing it and then catching it inside here, because I only want this catch to affect what's going on here. Okay, so this is another approach to handle your errors. So if the message was found, good. If it wasn't, we'll just say console log error, and then we're going to go ahead and say message was not found. I mean, you don't really want to, you know, display this whole error message inside the console. I mean, inside the chat. So just send them like a simple message. So we can do something like message.channel.send. Message was not found. Invalid ID, or well, the other way around. Invalid ID, message was not found. Okay, and we're gonna also await this. Message equal await. Excuse me. And then we're gonna say await message dot delete 5. We're gonna do 3500 milliseconds, and we're gonna catch the error. Okay, because again, an error might be thrown inside here. So I think we can also. I think you can only catch. Okay, never mind. This isn't Java. Never mind. I thought we could do that for a second to catch multiple times, but no. Okay, we'll just catch using this. Okay, great. Cool, so let's try this again. And let's delete this message. So if I just do that, invalid ID message was not found. And notice how this is logging to the console. Supply options is not an object. What's going on over here? Oh, okay, it's a little bit different now. We actually need to pass in an object, I think. Okay, I completely just disregarded that. Okay. So we need to actually before you can just pass in milliseconds, like a number, now you actually have to pass in an object. So we actually have to pass in the property number. That's only if you want to have a timeout. Okay, I completely overlooked that. We'll do 3500 here too. Okay, so let's try this again. Okay, so let's try this. That instantly deleted it. That was weird. That should have not happened. And no error was thrown. Okay, well, it worked as intended, but I don't know why the number itself. How long to wait? Timeout. Oh, I'm an idiot. It's a timeout, not number. Okay, there we go. This should work now. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So, our bot hasn't logged in yet. Start a bot. So buggy. Okay, there we go. Okay. Invalid ID message is not found. It should delete after. Good. There we go. Okay, great. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, cool. And of course, if okay, we'll just leave that alone for now. So this is exactly what we wanted, just to prevent it from, you know, spamming the channel. Okay, so now if the message was not found, good, we handled the error. That's good. So now if the message was found, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna ask the person, hey, look, give us all of the emojis and all of the role names that you want to correspond with each emoji. Okay, so what we're gonna need to do is the best thing that we can do is here's the thing, we don't know how many messages or how many role emojis that the user is trying to provide. So what we're going to do is we're just going to allow them to just enter as many as they can, and we're going to use a message collector. So if you look at the message collector class, okay, so this is going to allow us to collect as many messages as we need, and then we can stop it whenever you want. Okay, now another thing to mention is some people might ask, why would you not use the await messages function? Again, the reason why is because this is only useful if you're trying to just if you know the amount of messages that you're trying to collect, or if you want to set a timeout. So after, let's say, 30 seconds, you're going to get all the messages that were collected within that 30-second time frame. Okay, but since here we don't know how many emojis and roles that you're going to provide, we're going to give them an indefinite amount of time, and we're going to let them issue a command, and once they issue that command, it's going to pretty much say, okay, you're good. Okay, So let's go ahead and create a message collector. So I need to actually import that. So we're going to go ahead and say const message collector require discord.js. Okay. So we're basically pulling out the message collector class from the discord.js module. We're going to say let collector, new message collector. And this collector is going to take in a couple of parameters for the constructor. So let's actually look at the docs. It's going to take in a channel, filter, and options, and you can always look at the options as well. You can say, okay, what's the max amount of messages to collect? Okay, so we can actually set a max if we want. I guess I'll set a max to maybe 10. Okay, so if they exceed that limit, we're going to say, hey, that's too much, create a new message. Okay, or again, you don't have to set a limit, but I'll set a limit just for myself. Okay, so the channel that we're going to need to collect messages in is going to be the same channel that we have been using our commands, the same channel that has the message that we're going to add the reactions to. So we're going to pass in message.channel. We're going to need a filter. So the filter is basically going to be a predicate function. It's going to return a true or false value. And basically this filter is going to be used to filter out certain messages. In this case, we only want messages that pass a certain check. So we can actually make this filter a pretty, unique filter. So instead of just filtering out messages that are sent from the original author, we can do that as well as saying, hey, look, if the argument that they provided is invalid, meaning that let's say if they passed in an unknown emoji or an unknown role, we're going to omit that. Okay. So let's go ahead and write that out. So let's just leave this alone for now. We're gonna write the filter first. So how do I want to do this? I'm gonna define the filter inside here for now. So say function message collector filter, or actually I'll just do let. Use let, why not? Okay, so this itself is gonna always take in the message parameter. Okay, that's the message that is being processed, and we're going to do a couple of checks. So the first check we need to do is we need to make sure that the author matches the original author. Now this is actually going to be a little bit complicated, because I need to actually pass in I need to actually compare the authors. So if I declare it up here, I won't have access to the author. But I could do one thing. What if I did this? What if I did message collector filter and I binded this function, and we're gonna pass in null, and the second parameter would be message. Oh, that's actually quite interesting. Okay, this is some experimental thing, so bear with me just one sec. New message, original message. Okay, I'm gonna try this thing out real quick because I've never tried this out before. Author.id. This is some new stuff that I'm learning, so bear with me, guys. Okay, so we have the collector over here. We need to start listening to messages. So we're gonna go ahead and say collector on collect. I think should be it. We don't need to actually call any method. Okay, yeah, there we go. So and it's gonna, the parameters for this callback function is just gonna be the message that was collected. Was collected. Okay, so let's actually try this out again. Okay, hopefully this works out the way I'm expecting it to. Okay, so what was our command again? Copy ID. And I don't even remember what our command name was. Add initial reactions. Jesus Christ. I'm just gonna rename this because this is just too long and I can't be asked to type that out. Add reaction. Okay, that's much better. Okay. Add reactions. Did anything happen? Our bot hasn't even started up yet. Okay. Nothing happened. Why not? Okay, so we fetch the message. Hello? Add reactions. Okay, that's that is the name of the command, and you can see that it loaded correctly. Now if I do this, okay, so hello's being logged, so that means we're inside here. Now we have this message over here. We have this collector. Did we? I think I think we actually have to do something. I know there's one thing that what was it again? Handle collect. No, what was it that there was something that I had to do. How do we start the collector? Oh my god, I can't believe I completely forgot how to do this. Dispose, handle collect, reset timer, stop. No, if you call collector on, it should work. Right? Collector on, collect. Right? Properties, check methods. It could be our filter function might be it might be our filter function that might actually have an error. So let me actually, oh my god, I hate this keyboard. Okay, let me actually do this. Okay, I think I know what the issue is. Ah, I get it now. Okay, but I feel like it should have logged those IDs to the console though, so I don't understand why that didn't happen. Or wait, am I missing something? I probably am not even sending messages. Okay, there we go. I am actually so oblivious. Okay, I completely just okay, wow, I can't believe I did not realize that. Okay, so obviously I was unaware. But yes, I need to actually send messages. Okay, wow, I can't believe that went over my head. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so hello? Okay, good. Alright, perfect. This is exactly what I want to do. Okay, so you're probably wondering, why am I doing this, right? Why am I creating a filter function? Why am I calling .bind? Why am I passing null and message? Okay, so bear with me. This is gonna be, it's gonna blow your mind away. Okay, so what the basic syntax for this message collector is you specify a filter function. Okay, and that filter function is going to process the message, and if it passes that filter, then we're going to return true. If it doesn't pass the filter, you return false. So if the Boolean value of the filter function returns true, then that message is going to be collected. However, if it doesn't return true, then that means it's not going to be collected. Notice how over here, we're not getting the console.log message.content was collected because this value over here, like, first of all, this function doesn't return a true or false value. Well, it returns undefined, and undefined is a falsy value, and so since it's returning a falsy value, that means that this message did not pass the filter. But if I were to return true every single time, that means every single message is going to pass the filter, and you're going to see that whatever message I type in, it's going to say it was collected. Okay, now that doesn't explain why I needed to call bind. Okay, so let me explain what I'm doing over there. So what I need to do, okay, I could have declared my my function inside here. I could have declared it inside the scope, but because I wanted to declare it up here, right? This is outside the scope of this async function over here, so I can't reference the original author that initialized the command. I want to make sure that the person that is giving me the ID, the role IDs, and the emoji names or the emoji IDs is the same person that issued the command. Okay, so I'm calling bind so I can pass in. Well, first of all, the first parameter is the object to bind this function on. In this case, we're not binding this function to any object. Okay, so we're passing a null. The second parameter and any other subsequent parameter after that are just going to be additional arguments that are going to pass in. So and it looks like it's voodoo. I started for a little bit. It looks like it's voodoo, and this is honestly one of the beauties of JavaScript. Okay, you can basically bind parameters so that this function over here can take in a parameter up here. Okay, so that's actually pretty cool. So originally, right? How do I explain this? The original filter, okay, takes in its original parameter. Okay, this parameter over here is coming from the this is the message that is being processed. okay, this other parameter is coming from the parameter that we're binding it to. Okay, because by default, right, if I just have one parameter, right, and if I didn't do bind, right, so what's gonna happen is only the message that I'm typing in that is being collected, that is being processed, is this parameter over here. But I need multiple parameters. Okay, so I know it seems really weird. Hopefully my explanation kind of like clarified a little bit, but don't worry so much about it, because I know it's really tricky. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and do a couple checks. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and first we'll do this. Let's is same author equal new message, the author ID equals original message author ID. So we're gonna get the Boolean value of whether or not the author IDs are the same. So we're gonna compare this later to something else, because we have a couple of things that we need to check. Okay, so the way I want, here's what I'm gonna do. Let me actually send the message. Please provide all of the emoji names. Here's the thing. Can you actually have two emojis with the same name? I don't think so. Because if I change that, what's gonna happen? Oh wow, so it seems like you can. That's a little bit weird. Oh, I guess you can change it. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. Let's see. How do I get the ID of the emoji? That's gonna be weird. Okay, that's gonna be hard. Okay. This is gonna be a challenge. It's gonna be a fun challenge. Let's see. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask the user to give us the name of the emoji. Okay. And give us the role that you want to correspond to the emoji. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and have them give us this information. Okay. So please provide all of the emoji names. Please provide all the emoji names with the role name, and we'll show a use case. Okay, so obviously we're gonna need to tell the person, hey, look, how do you want like, this is how you should give us the data. So we're gonna say, okay, Snapchat comma role name, or Snapchat comma Snapchat. Okay, Facebook comma Facebook, YouTube comma YouTube. Okay, Twitter comma Twitter, etc. Okay, that's what we're gonna do, and I think that should be good enough. Okay. Now we're also later on gonna make it so that they can provide the role ID, but for now we're gonna do a very simple implementation. Okay, so I think let's see. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna cut the video here, because we're at 40 minutes now. So we're gonna continue off in the next video in part 2. This is gonna be a very long series, so if you've watched all 40 minutes of this episode, honestly, I don't know how you managed to sit through this, because there was just like a lot of stuff that have probably just confused the hell out of you. But if you stuck along, you're a true warrior. And if you have any questions about what is going on in this code, please feel free to join my Discord server and ask any questions that you can. And I or someone on the server will do our best to answer your questions whenever we get the chance. Okay? So again, all the code again will be in the GitHub repository as always. But I'm only gonna put it out once I'm done with this whole project. Okay. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the part 2 episode. Peace.